Welcome to another episode of WTF Cinema.
Hi everybody, welcome back to WTF Cinema. You may have noticed my casual attire has slightly changed, and that is in honor of today's movie. See, I believe in balance in the world, and when you see what our main character wears for most of this movie, you will understand why I feel a need to cover myself as much as possible. Although, once again, in the name of balance, it should be known I'm not wearing any pants. There's looking good, and then there's being ridiculous. Anyway, without further ado, let's dive right into today's horrible, horrible movie. This is Zardoz. We open with Holly the ship's computer here telling us the backstory to this movie we're about to watch. He doesn't explain to us why his facial hair is drawn on, but he does promise us a fascinating and wonderful tale. And he lies like a dog! Our story is set in the distant future, where we see a group of tribal peoples gathering around a giant floating head. This is going to be one of those movies, isn't it? As the giant head speaks, we learn a great many things. Apparently, mankind has evolved into two tribes. The highly evolved Eternals, and the lesser evolved Brutals. And these folks we see gathering here, they are the chosen people among the Brutals. They have been chosen to hunt down and exterminate all the other Brutals. Okay. To help them in their quest of exterminating all the other Brutals, Zardoz has given them the gift of the gun. So apparently, 200 years in the future, we will have completely forgotten how to make firearms and then learned it again from scratch. Also, if this is his elite police force, why are they wearing these skimpy outfits and covered in mud? Couldn't he have, made them a little sharper dressed police force? I'm just saying. Also, what follows is the Republican version of sex education.
Penis is evil. The penis shoots seeds and makes new life to poison the earth with a plague of men, as once it was. But the gun shoots death and purifies the earth of the filth of Brutals.
I feel Sarah Palin would be proud. So Zardoz ends his wonderful speech by telling them to go forth and kill, which of course causes them to gather closer to the stone face in praise, which is good, because then Zardoz vomits forth guns and ammo. We see him puking up a lot of guns, machine guns, pistols, shotguns, a whole variety of guns, but the only ammo we see him puking up is shotgun shells. But that's okay, right? Shotgun shells are universal ammo. We then meet our main character, Sean Connery. Sean Connery promptly takes pity on us for choosing to watch this film and puts us out of our misery. Now, as our opening credits play, we are treated to this wonderful visual of this stone head just slowly drifting through the sky. And we're treated to music that can only be akin to if you took a fabulous opera and put it through a Super Nintendo processor. Now, apparently, while the opening credits were flying by, Sean Connery snuck into the giant head, and he finds himself surrounded by people covered in Glad wrap. We're never told why these people are shrink-wrapped. It's never hinted at. The movie does like to spend a lot of time addressing a lot of stuff we've heard, or that we know, or that we don't need to know, but it doesn't tell us about the shrink-wrap people. Alright, I've hidden this from you as long as I can, and you aren't ready for this. But it's time for you to get a good look at our main character. Yes, that's James Bond dressed in a red... Welcome to WTF Cinema. Now you'll understand why I had the overwhelming urge. Although I gotta tell you, I'm starting to kind of like the way this looks. This may become a regular thing. And if it does, we can thank Zardoz, which leaves us with now 2 legacies. Me dressing up nice, and... that. So Sean Connery shoots the real Zardoz, who was hanging out by the mouth of the thing. Now, we very clearly see that Sean only hit him in the arm. So, Zardoz will survive to answer questions and tell us what's going on, right? No. Zardoz berates Sean Connery for shooting him, saying, "I could have told you so much, and then jumps out the mouth of the ship, where he floats for a while before gradually descending to his doom. This is a lot like when that chick climbed into Batman's nuclear generator. Like, he's shot in the arm, and then he decides to casually drift to his doom. Another one of those sentences you don't think you're going to encounter. Moving on. After landing the giant head, Sean Connery starts ransacking Zardoz's house, where he comes across a magical talking ring, which should be useful. He also encounters a naked lady on a horse, which I'm not going to show you. And he plays with some flowers and a jack-in-the-box. Truly a tale of high adventure. What the hell is he looking at? Why is there an overlay of water next to her? We can see the lake through the water, so she's not actually in the water, so why does it look like she's in the water? Okay, the movie's not going to explain this at all, and it's an effect that's never used again. Fine! Next!
You were told about the vortex.
Zardoz says...
What does Zardoz say?
Well, maybe if you'd let him finish his sentences, he'd explain it for you. Seriously, he didn't even pause. She just jumped right in. Hey, I'm going to the store to buy some... What are you going to the store to buy? Some ice cream, man. Back off! So the lady from the lake drags him back to her collective, which are the Eternals, and together they probe Sean Connery's memory, and we watch him exerting his will over the lesser brutals, because he's one of the chosen police force. Why are the chosen police force wearing these outfits, and the brutals are wearing shirts and pants, and sometimes even sports coats? What sense is that supposed to make? Also, we see the last few moments of Zardoz's memory as he gently drifts towards his death. And also in Sean Connery's memory, we see the people's in their own memories. That's not how that works. Memories are point of view. Because there are memories! It's not a third-person shooter. I remember looking out at things. If you were to probe my memory, the only time you'd see me is in reflections. What follows for the next hour is pretty much Sean Connery walking around this environment, learning the history of these people, and he's like treated as a monkey, and they research him. It's a lot more boring than a movie starring a mostly naked Sean Connery should ever be. So part of the rules on this Utopia, since there is no death, is that crimes are punishable by aging. And if you age to a certain point, you're shoved off into the old people's home and forgotten about. Sounds like a utopia to me. So at one point, Sean Connery encounters these apathetics. These are people who have just stopped caring about anything because they've lived so long. And it's kind of an interesting point, and I think it's actually feasible. I think if all of society were to become immortal, After a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 years, there would be a segment of the population like this that just stood there. Now, Sean Connery's reaction to being exposed to this interesting philosophical point is to begin raping one of the women. But apparently, the whole dead fish thing doesn't work for him, so he gets bored with it and decides not to.
Yeah, it's a bit frightening, isn't it?
This is our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes. Then there's a lovely scene where, as part of their study, they attempt to get Sean Connery to have an erection, because apparently the men in this society can no longer have erections. I am watching a movie where one of the focal points is a bunch of women standing around trying to give Sean Connery an erection by talking to him. God, where did my life go so wrong?
Thank you for watching WTF Cinema. Until next time, what the f***, man?